Okay, I'm coming on this evening going over a topic that I think is very much needed because I believe that we are going to not have our phone and our gadgets and stuff. So if you think you're going to rely on your phone to go from A to B, I think you're fooling yourself. So I'm tonight going to talk about this gadget right here. This is a fancy compass. It is a sighting compass, and we're going to talk about this and all about, or as much as I can, about maps and compass reading, and just to get you familiarized with it, because I think it's a highly relevant thing. If you do not already have, I would highly advise a map of some sort. This is a map that I truly love. I've had these for the last 20 to 30 years. They're called Gazetteers, and it's just basically a book of maps. And I love this because it's very detailed, and you can see all these numbers. And these are the pages that it corresponds to. So you can basically you can tell that Colorado is laid out in a grid pattern. So if I wanted to look at any part of Colorado, like I could look at Denver. You can see how Denver is right here. You can see Denver. If I wanted to look at Fort Collins or Boulder, or maybe down here at Trinidad and Pueblo are down here. But this is going to come in handy because this will give you an idea as to what's around you. However, if the earthquakes and stuff do hit, stuff will be obliterated. If the earthquake that I'm seeing comes, whoever is left behind, this will be a much different looking world. So you have to keep that in mind when doing stuff. But this will give you a general idea as to where things used to be. But but this is a gazetteer, and you can get this at there's a Barnes and Noble bookstore. They have gone up in price. These are $25. But there are free maps that you can get of various locales. Like if you go to, and I highly recommend this, if you go to like a Chamber of Commerce, they have all kinds of maps of different parks and places that you can go to. So I would highly recommend that you would supply yourself with these different maps. But but all of them have a legend. You can see that all of these are like the big blue would be your interstate, and then you have green, which will be toll roads. But as you go down, you'll notice that the roads change and get smaller. So you can see here how the state route, so that's going to be better than a local road. A local road potentially could even be gravel. So it's not, so it may help you get from A to B. And then you have unimproved road is like your off-road, and they're unimproved. But this will give you an idea. Other symbols on here, I'm not seeing. You can see like some that are really important would be water. Like if there are areas that are on here, they're all obviously in blue. If you see like a water body, just know that if an earthquake is hit, that that water may not be there. If you see a dotted line, that means an intermittent water body, so it may or may not still be there. We do also have the Continental Divide, which looks like a dash mark, and it goes, and it kind of comes down through here, and but basically the Continental Divide, what it is everything east of the divide goes all the way goes east, obviously, and everything west of the divide goes west. However, this may change if the earthquake hits. So points of interest are there. Wind turbine looks like this. And just imagine, so this kind of looks like a wind turbine, like all the blades and stuff. So you can see at the hospital has an X. You can see Minor Quarry has this little little symbol on it. Boat launch site obviously has a little boat. If you see a little fish, it means it's a fishing kind of area. Just remember that if things really do start to shake, I mean, there may be still remnants of these places left, but they're not going to be as big and whatever as they used to be. But yeah, you can see how fishing has a little fish. But these are just a few. But the general gist of, and I'm gonna have to flip to a. So sorry, I'm trying to figure out. Okay, so this is Montrose, and what's really helpful is like, okay, so you have this generalized map. We went over the key the different features are on here. The other thing you got to do is look down here at this. This is the scale, and you can see that the top, it says MI, that stands for mile. So this is 0 to 1 is 1 mile. That's 2 miles, 3 miles. And what you can do is, if you have something to measure it, there's actually a little, yeah, you can see the little scale on here. What I can do is I can measure this, so I can figure out, okay, well, that's 3 miles right there. And so what I can do is I can use that, and I can use that scale to figure out how far of a distance these things are. And just know that that roadways are going to be easier to travel than like these other trails and other things. Like if it's really curvy, you're going to probably be going through mountains and that type of thing. Like right here, this road, the reason why it's really curvy is because it's an off-road road. So just be very aware. But that is, I mean, you can figure out, like when you look at here, you can figure out, okay, well, that's 3 miles, and then that's 6 miles, and then what you do is you just basically keep going. And you can figure out exactly how far stuff is on a map. And you can figure out, okay, well, and you can do that to figure out, okay, how far do I have to go in order to get to X, Y, Z. But also when things hit the fan, these main roadways are places where you're not going to want to go on. You're going to want to go on places kind of like this. These, you see how that's a 2-lane dotted highway? Those are all off-road, like OHV type. OHV means off-highway vehicle. If it's a single, generally speaking, they're hiking paths. But what you're going to be looking for, is if you're trying to find places on a map, what you're going to want to do is look for places that have, I don't know if there's going to be one on here. Oh yeah, okay, there we go. That's what I was looking for. But you're going to be looking for springs. These springs more likely will be your best bet for clean, drinkable water. And these are springs, and if you can figure out where you are, like if you're in Montrose, and that's why you need a map of your local area. Like I can figure out, okay, well, how do I get to this spring? But I can follow these different roads and get out to the spring, maybe. So, but these are things that you're going to be looking for. You're going to be looking for a water source. On this map, however, I mean, you're not going to be seeing What you don't see is the really big detail. It's like, okay, what are the houses like? Are there any structures or that there any type of thing like that? um, and also, when you're looking at maps, this little triangle symbol, this one right here where it says Buzzard Gulch Trailhead, that's a BLM area, and so is this a BLM trail area. Um, all of this yellow that you're seeing, that you're seeing here, is a that's BLM area. It's called the Uncompahgre Plateau. This is a place where like the Ute Indians used to go a long time ago. This green right here is a forest. So if you see this, it is more of a forest. BLM, be aware that BLM areas are just areas of places pretty much that are under federal authority that can be used. However, they're usually don't have any structures unless they're old historic home sites on them. However, BLM also has a lot of old mines on their land. Um, just be aware that if you go in a mine shaft or whatever and try to hide, that it'll be very difficult. And also, you may run into methane. This area was heavily mined for vanadium. I don't know what. I know over this way, there's Highway 141 that comes up and around and goes around this way, and then it comes down right here. This is 141, and it basically does this big loop. But this area it had a thing called carnotite, which was uranium, radium, and vanadium. But this is a heavily mined area. I'm trying to find some mines just to show you. But yes, you can see that these different camps, like Fisher Camp, Pine Camp, these camps, I mean, yes, they are like camps. But like if you're looking for structures, I mean, I can't believe that there's a flipping country club way the heck out in the middle of nowhere. But yes, I mean, you're going to be looking for structures. BLM land is not known for having structures. And also, if you can look at this, sometimes you can find like it'll say ranches and that type of thing on here. But this dotted line, you see how it's a double dotted line? These are all dirt roads. And they can get pretty sketchy. But if you're on foot, I mean, that's one way of doing it. But if you're in a car and you try to go on some of these roads, especially like in here, your car is not going to make it unless you have a big time off-road vehicle. These are somewhat sketchy roads, but yeah, you can see Ridgeway Park. Your state park is going to be outlined by like this bluish, purplish outline. And here's another example of that purplish. This is actually a national place. And if an earthquake hits, which is predicted to hit in the tribulation, actually, it's not just one, it's many. There's a dam holding this water back. So I wouldn't assume that this body of water, we just got hit by a major earthquake, that won't be in existence. But you can see also, you can see how this shaded relief here, how all this means is it's going to be very hilly. It's pretty much showing you the topography of that area. It's going to be bumpy and hilly, so it's not going to be flat. Like here, I mean, these mountains are very steep. You can see how this creek is cutting. And so you're going to have to be very wise as to the routes that you take, because this is pretty much a ridge, but you can see what these like little lines are lines of elevation. And the closer that the lines are, the steeper the topography is. So like here, you can see how the lines are getting closer and closer together. That means that this is going to be really steep. The green that you're seeing, you see how it has green and it also has white intermixed into here. The green is generally like your trees and that type of thing. The white are more open areas. The white are like your big open areas. And if you know, if you've ever been through Montrose, you know it's a high elevation place. So it's going to have more open areas than other places do. Okay, so there's your mine. So if you ever have a map and you have that symbol, you can even see that on these gazetteers it will show you mines. However, these are the really big mines. This won't show you every little detail that will be around you. I mean, you may bump into something that is different than what you're seeing here. Also, there are travel routes like hiking paths and that type of thing that you may bump into that aren't necessarily on this map. Like if you're in an area and you want to know all the hiking paths of here, then that's probably a really good idea. So where is the Gunnison River? I'm trying to locate. Okay, so the Gunnison River. So you can see the Gunnison is right here, and it goes this way. So this is the Gunnison River. And there are parts of the Gunnison River that get pretty, like over here, it goes, it kind of goes down this. And it gets really, really, like, hold on. The Gunnison River, okay, so it turns here. And then this is really stinking deep. This is the Black Canyon of the Gunnison. The Gunnison River is like, if you think that your life is difficult, this area, like this is a gorge. This area, you can see how, well, it doesn't really give it a whole lot of justice here, but this canyon is like several thousand feet deep. Like when you're on the edges of it, it's like 2,000 to 3,000 feet deep. And it is, it would be extremely difficult getting down into it. So there are access points along the Gunnison River, like down here there are access points as you go down here. But just remember that it is pretty, but yes, and if you notice how steep and how the lines are together, it just makes it a lot more difficult. But you can see that this symbol means it's a trail. You see North Chasm Trail. And this is basically a unique place that is marked on these maps. And these just show different features. So the different features, I mean, so the yellow was BLM, the green is forest, and then the yellow, I mean, there are cities and stuff, but typically if this world goes up in flames, you're going to want to stay clear of places like this. Unless what you can do is during the day, you can, like if you have a place over here or over here, and you want to scout out cities, what you can do is you can like stealthily, like at nighttime or in twilight, you can come over and scope it out and see, okay, well, are there structures, or is there anything that I can salvage from here? But yes, but yes, you can see that this is the main road. But yes, you're going to have different facilities along these different towns and stuff. And the bigger the yellow, so you can see how that one's not as big. And so you see Delta, which is really big. You'll notice how the towns, like if it's just a little dot, that doesn't, I mean, that means that the town is pretty small. But if you see like this, where you see the town like of Delta, Delta is a bigger city than like for say like Somerset, and you can see that there are mines and stuff along here. But in order to live in this area, there's different elevations, and what also plays into living in this time is elevation's going to play a significant factor. At higher elevation during the winter, it's going to be colder. But if you're higher elevation in the summer, there are you can find choke cherries, and you can find service berries. You can find Gamble oak. You can find dandelion and other things. Dandelion is actually really good for you. Your supposed weeds that grow in your yard are actually really, really good for you. But what I'm trying to do is just mainly to get you familiarized with what a map looks like. I mean, you can see the difference between a major road, which is this really red road, and then you can see these little white roads that are going off of it. These are your local roads that are going through like your farmlands or like your rural areas, and it's their way of connecting the rural areas onto the main grid system. So, but but yes, you're going to be, I mean, you can see how all these different tributaries and stuff, like you can see when I was talking earlier, how the dotted line was intermittent creeks. Well, that's an intermittent creek. You can see how it's dotted line. And what Colorado has done is there are a lot of little lakes and reservoirs that have been dammed trying to hold the water back. So that is a good way of having water. And also you can see how all this, how around that lake there's these little water things. That's pretty much saying that that's a wetland area. Wetland area is another great place to find food, because there may be like crawdads potentially in wetlands. Their cattails are a great source of food, and they're also found in wetlands. And there's like other vegetation that potentially can be eaten in water areas. And you also will have fish. Fish are a great source of food. So, so we've talked a lot about different things, and this is a compass, but you can see how the compass and how it's always pointing. You can see how this arrow will always point north. This is a fancier compass than what normally you'll see. I would strongly recommend getting a compass of any sort, and because it will point north, and hopefully north stays what it does. But right now, it is a way of navigation, and it will point north. However, what you don't want to do is have this be around metal. If it's around metal, it will make the magnetism not be as much, and it could throw off the arrow. Like the arrow may be pointing this way or that way, because the magnetism will throw it off. Like if you're in a car and you try to use the compass will be thrown off. So it will not give you an accurate reading. But your main concern is like which way it's pointing. And if you were to use this, what I would do is I would orient the map to where the map is facing, is the map and the compass are both facing north. So you can see that, okay, it's facing north, because usually north is always going that way on a map, and south is going the opposite. If compass does not work when you're around, what I would do is I would find a reference. I mean, is there a water body? Is there a mountain that you can that are on here that you can find? And a mountain. Okay, so here's a mountain right there. Typically, it has this triangle, and it has the feet, like 12,719. So that's Mount Gunnison. And above 11,500 or 12,000 feet, you're getting above the timber, so it's going to be, there's not going to be any vegetation on top of it. It's also going to be pretty darn cold up on top of it too. But you can always find a reference point, and if you can find a reference point and go towards it, then that will help you keep going on a straight line. Because if you don't take a reference point and don't keep something in line with you, then you potentially could be going in circles. You could be like going one way for a little bit and then going a whole another different direction. So just be aware. But you can see that there are multiple mountains. So there's a mountain there, there's a mountain there, there's a mountain there. So there are multiple mountains that are around. And during the summer, they may be places where you can find different vegetation. But during the winter, they're going to be flipping with lots of snow. Typically in Colorado, anything above like 12,000 feet, that snow is going to stay there. Well, I mean, the typical snow doesn't usually leave until May, if not June, and they have a very short season higher up where they don't have snow. So, trying to think of anything else. I know we've gone through a lot, but your main concern are like water bodies. You're going to want a compass that will show you which way to go. What's nice about this is if you ever have a compass like this, what you do is I can sight through. You see how it has a little notch here, and then there's a string going on it. What I would do is I would hold this up to myself like this, and I would have that notch and have that string go exactly in the notch. And what I would do is I would look through it like this, and I would find a reference. I know this is my room, but I would find a reference and then go towards it. And then I would keep doing this. But there are times when you may be going down in a gully and then back up again. So that can definitely throw off your navigation. The north side of objects has a tendency to be wetter, and it also has a tendency to have snow last longer because the sun cycle, in the winter time doesn't go completely like overhead. Like if this were the sun and it were going like this would be like directly overhead. Like if I just went from, like if this were the land I was on and I went from A to B, that would be directly overhead. However, the sun kind of does this number where it kind of goes off to one side, or like, I can't do it. So like this, where it kind of goes this number and then comes back across. And it's because that it's on a circular trajectory on our flat earth. You may think I'm nuts for being a flat earther, but I've been shown the foundations, and clearly it is all over. It says that we're in a firmament. If you've ever watched the SpaceX rockets and it hits the firmament, we've never been out of our firmament. I hate to burst your bubble, but if you watch these videos of the rockets, you'll see that it will, like, the rocket will basically come off the earth, and when it hits, you'll see this, like, it looks like it's like hitting something. It looks like this funky pattern kind of thing in the sky, and it explodes. Like there is no more rocket after that point. And I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's the rocket hitting the firmament. So I would strongly advise you would get familiar with the area around you. I would find different places. Like if it were me and I was wanting to get familiar with the area around me, I would take all these different routes and I would figure out what's around me. But I don't live outside of Delta, I live somewhere else. But so yeah. But these are like the book cliffs that come along here and follow this. This is the Grand Valley. And all of this is pretty dry. But there are all these little like creeks and streams and stuff because they all come into this right here, which is the Colorado River. Colorado River goes this way and goes this way. I do know that in here, this canyon, it can get pretty steep on both sides, but it is a great way of escaping. However, in order to cross the Colorado River, it's you would have to figure out a way of getting your stuff across. But you can see that the bigger the city, you can see how this has a lot more yellow like we were talking about. And you can see that this is a little airport symbol. But a map can give you a lot of information. Like this says Wild Horse Area. But yes, I would just get familiar. There are a lot of symbols on here. Like churches, basically, they have an X on them. Like that's a hospital symbol. That's obviously a campground. That's another hospital. This is a point of interest. That little purplish, it's almost like a compass. It is like a miniature compass. That's an upside down BLM marker, because that's McGinnis Canyon area. But yes, this is supposed to be a short and sweet, and I did this training to just get you familiar with maps and that type of thing. And this is, it does show some of the, you can see how it's pretty hilly. Like if I went, I don't know if I can find, so here's an area. This is Trinidad. This would be called your Front Range. So this is what 25 that goes south to north along the Front Range. But you can see here, this is all grasslands, and you can see how it's pretty flat, how there's not much features on it. You can see that this says Black Hills, so would be a slightly hillier area. If you ever see this pattern, that means that it is a intermittent reservoir, and it's dependent on how much rain we get. But that is there. That's a little information thing. This is a scenic driving route if you see a car. But you need to get familiarized with maps and how to use maps, because your phone won't work. And I would strongly recommend having a compass too. Compasses are very valuable, and could be a great way of finding north and south and that type of thing, and keeping you on a familiar trajectory to wherever. So you can see that this, remember how we said earlier that the white is your peaks. So, but you can see a lot of difference between that and then that over there. This is a lot of peaks. Typically, if it has white, that means that these peaks are probably like 12,000 foot peaks. So it could be a very hard climb up that mountain. Well, thank you for joining me. But yes, you need to get very familiar with maps. Get familiar with the legends and what the different things mean. Thank you for joining me. Have a great night. And prepare for what's coming.